Welcome everybody to a early game guide for Skarbrand, and this campaign or this faction is just so crazy strong that it's just hard to emphasize it, given that this is probably the third campaign start that I've done for him. First one lasted about 16 turns, second one I did a couple of turns, and in this one I just was like, okay, I think I'm getting the hang of this and how to play him. Boom. By turn 18 you can potentially have already completed the short campaign victory and have acquired somehow 35 settlements, gotten the Chain Sword, won one of the, I would say, toughest little quest battles to manage if you try to do it in the early game, and you're already in process of what, almost getting close to getting the long campaign victory, which is just crazy. So how do you get to this point? How do you get to such a status where you have an insane amount of money, a humongous amount of negative upkeep, important to point out, a good amount of skulls. Skarbrand is at rank 32 and it's only turn 18 already, and you have a lot of armies just standing about. So let's start from the very beginning and how you should play this faction and where to go to start. So number one, when you start the campaign with Skarbrand, you will always, every single time this pops up, do Eternal War. This will summon a tiny little army, you simply defeat it, and you get skulls. You always try to prioritize going for skulls if you need it. If you have enough skulls for your immediate necessities for like the next 2 to 3 turns, go for the money in the captives option. Now, once you've done that, you've won that battle, you've already put the Blood Reaper in your army on turn 1, so you can get that extra campaign movement range. Then you engage the first top-notch tribe-based army that's next to you, you defeat it, and then you go to this minor region here, and this is very important for you to take into consideration. At the very beginning, you're going to be low on skulls and low on blood host armies. Blood host armies is an essential part of the campaign to really move extremely fast and maximize how you make a lot of money playing this faction, which is with post-battle loot income. There's massive amounts of post-battle money. So as you move forward and you raise this region, you raise it and you get a blood host army. Now, before you do anything on that turn 1, anything you do, you click skulls for the skull throne. This is gonna boost your post-battle loot income by 25%. So that Eternal War army that you engaged the first turn, that top-notch army and the settlement, good amount of money income overall. Once you've done that and that blood host army pops up in this location, Skull's Throne will give you an extra 2 units when a blood host army is created. You want to maximize how many units are created in blood host armies so that RNG can potentially give you good units. For example, if you go to these armies over here, this one has a Blood Crusher and a Bloodthirster, and some of them have very good overall units like tier 3 like Exalted Bloodletters. You just want to maximize how many units you get. And then that blood host army that you get in this minor region, that army is gonna move westward and then northwest to defeat everything the top nuts throw at you. And as that army continues moving forward, note that the Skull Throne event is active for 5 turns, and for those 5 turns you want to min-max the amount of blood host armies that you get so you can retain a lot of units to keep pushing in 2 directional fronts. I haven't talked about where Skarbrand goes, but continuing with this singular direction that we're pushing with blood hosts, it will keep pushing forward for the next probably until turn 5 to turn 6, all the way westward, then north until Grunty Mingle, and then that way all of the top-notch faction is completely eliminated. In the meantime, Skarbrand, you're gonna rotate northwards, and then you're gonna take the floating village, which will be held by the top-notch tribe, and you raise it for yet another blood host army. In the meantime, you will summon a general at Death Gorge and recruit Chaos Furies of Khorne. This is probably the unit to get in the early game. About 6 of them is good enough early on in the campaign, because what these units can do, if you group up a lot of them and dive a singular unit, Chaos Furies can eliminate mid-tier to sometimes late-tier units with multiples of these Chaos Furies just munching a unit like Wild Piranhas. For example, Crypt Horrors. A single Crypt Horror unit can be eliminated by 6 Chaos Furies, maybe less than this, if dove together, or they all dive the unit together. The Vargulf also can be eliminated by the Chaos Furies. Why am I mentioning Vampire Count units? So, remember I mentioned you summon a Blood Host here, you've recruited a Lord here and recruit Chaos Furies. You're gonna recruit yet another general, and you're gonna have a total of 2 generic generals, plus Skarbrand, plus a blood host reaching Morgheim at turn 5. If you reach Morgheim turn 6, Malagor would have already sieged it and you won't be able to get it. This is probably the most difficult battle in his first 18 turns, aside from the quest battle, that you will do as Skarbrand, because it will be a large army there with a Vargolf, a Strigoi King, multiple crypt horrors, and there's a unique building here that lets the vampire counts have low recruitment capacity +1 and recruit crypt horrors and crypt ghouls at +4 recruit rank, which can make the crypt horrors a bit harder to deal with. But with elite units and a lot of units that you face at once, a lot of post-battle loot that you can get. So by the time you get to Morgheim, you still have the Skull Throne active, and once again you freaking pop the blood host. And by that time the Skull Throne's about to run out, but you will have acquired, actually you don't actually do this at Morgheim. Since Morgheim is a major region, you don't go for blood host, you sack and then occupy the region to get money out of it, and also you occupy it and you should have enough skulls from how many units you've defeated in this going this path and also going in this direction to occupy it. My tip as you progress through the campaign is sack then occupy major regions, raise minor regions for blood hosts if you have extra blood host unit capacity recruitment, and if not, go for skulls so you have enough skulls for acquiring major regions or for starting the Skull Throne. That is my tip. Now, something that you're probably wondering is, dude, you're completely forgetting about the south. What the hell? You can't just forget about it. You have people that don't like you down there. That is very true. But there's a catch here. Throughout these first 18 turns of the campaign, you should constantly be at least strength rank 5, probably strength rank 1, the majority of the campaign. You say, dude, how the heck do you do this? All of these blood hosts massively help with your overall strength rank. And only one faction in these 3 starts that I've basically done to start the campaign has declared war on me, and it will say the 2 campaign starts that I did, the second and the third, which I did more stably, you know, more knowing what the hell I was doing. Only these little dwarves over here have declared war on me, and apologies, the disciples of the mob, which every time you see them they just decide to declare war. But in essence, you get to high strength rank, and that lets you potentially avoid wars because of the massive strength differential and diplomatic personalities of factions that are around you. But also there's a very important thing that you can do to get a ton of freaking money in the campaign, and I mean constantly a lot of money. You see your little homeboy Malagor right here? Malagor is very high in diplomatic standing with me, going down a little bit because he doesn't like Sartosa. I didn't know about this until later in the campaign, but you get a military access and a non-aggression pact with him. And on turn 1, when you first see him as you move towards the floating generic village here, you get that non-aggression pack, balance the deal, and you get $5,000 to $6,000 from him. He's gonna be broke. You're gonna gift him massive gifts, and because he's broke, the massive gifts will only be $1,000, and you basically will give back about $5,000 to $6,000 in total that he gave you initially, but that's gonna bring him up to like 190 something in friendship. Now, reason why you want to do this, and this is where it's kind of exploit-ish, you would say. A little trick that you can do is every turn to every 2 turns, maybe every 3 turns, you demand payment from the beastmen and they will gladly give it to you. It will be at 0. If it's not, sometimes you can click this and look at this. Let me show you, look at this. He wants to give me $2,000 if he joins war against this guy. But watch what happens if I only bring in the dwarves into the equation. Actually, this one wasn't a good example. Let me grab another one. 0 also. Come on, I'm recording, man. You can't do this to me. Let's see if it works. So these J custodians are at negative 0.2. Let's ask for the $2,000 first now, and then join war against the J custodians. Damn it, it didn't work. So I'm telling you, believe me, please, that if you abuse this by asking for $2,000 first and then do join war against a faction, you will potentially get in turn a higher diplomatic deal that averages the chances of getting into a war with somebody, and he will just keep giving you $2,000 over and over and over again in the campaign. But you can only do this once every single turn. I didn't think I've been able to do it more than once. So if I go here for Clan Verns, there we go, it's 0.2 now. This one used to work. And then another Beastman faction popped up in the north, so I can do the same thing here potentially. So let's do another demand payment with this guy, and in turn these guys are just gonna be there to help you with, look at this, going war against these little Skaven. If I do join war now, it's still 0. What about against the Jet Custodians? negative 0.5. Let's see if it works. Hopefully, you know, what I'm saying actually is a thing and I'm making it up in front of you. Okay, well, okay, thanks game, freaking proving me wrong in front of you. But there you go. You basically keep pulling this guy into, or the Beastmen factions, into wars with people, and you don't join alliance with them, because if you're an alliance and a war declaration happens, you automatically get the war to basically, or get this faction pulled into the war, so you can exploit them for money every turn to every 2 turns, and it just becomes a constant thing. I mean, I've acquired so much money from gifts from the Beastmen that I can't even like basically keep track of it at this point. Additionally, on turn 1, you build up to tier 2 the armory building to get a cultist, and that cultist will go on Skarbrand's army, because cultists give you higher replenishment chance, which is one of the most important things that you can get in the campaign as Skarbrand, because you start with very low replenishment. Additionally, with Skarbrand, you want to reach a major region to tier 5 as soon as you can, so you can get good anti-large AP based units, which is kind of your weakness early on in the campaign, and lack of speed with your like basically strong sturdy units, which are like the Chaos Warriors. So you want to build this building chain up as high as you can and as fast as you can to get to tier 5 and get crazy powerful units. Now, another thing to note is when you start the campaign, you're gonna say, dude, you have so much little growth when you play Skarbrand, like it's so bad. No, when you keep maximizing bloodletting across multiple armies, this thing just keeps stacking and stacking. And look at this, 385 growth from freaking bloodletting, and you combine this with the bloodletting that you're getting from all of the little blood hosts. This is why you keep getting as many blood hosts as you can, because it's gonna cause growth to go insane. Additionally, very important, when you sack and occupy major regions after you go through Morgheim and then you push towards Warzag, important, I haven't mentioned this up to turn 5, you basically repair the settlement that turn that you acquire it, because when you repair it, you get that chance to automatically colonize ruined regions in province at turn start from 2% of a, or around that value, of a damaged major region to 5%. And then you stack that with the second research that you go for, which is Spread Rage, you get 10% chance of colonizing ruined regions as you're expanding. And why do you want that? Because when you acquire a major region, then you can potentially grab the minor regions of the other locations as you're basically racing through them and getting skulls or blood hosts, and then you complete entire commanderies by doing so. For example, Ekron, that was held mostly by Warzag, has been acquired by me after I've raised the 3 minor regions, and now Ekron is going up in level, you know, as soon as possible. So going back to what to do every single turn. For research, I first go for blood feasting, because Skarbrand is going to be in melee and destroying as many units as possible. And also this reduces upkeep of blood hosts by 5%, which is freaking huge. After this one, and I give the ancillary, this passive healing to Skarbrand in the army. After this, I go for Spread Rage to get that RNG of colonizing ruined regions. And then I go for more campaign movement range for blood hosts, which is extremely valuable, because then blood hosts can easily reach locations faster. And because blood hosts can easily get attrition if they're not constantly doing battles, you want them to reach locations as soon as they can, to therefore be able to maximize their usage and get more post-battle loot from them, so they can, by them reaching regions a bit faster. Then you would start going for the next researches over here, because you only need 3 to get to the next tier. But I prefer to then go for post-battle loot, because again, this is your biggest way of making money, aside from basically getting money from Beastmen every turn to 2 by getting to join wars for you. So just note that, taking that into account as you keep expanding. Another reason why you want to grab Morgheim before Malagor does is it because if he raises it, or I forgot what he does, if he grabs it from these vampire accounts, then a lot of regions around here become hurt stones and you can't just occupy them, and I think Morgheim is one of them, and therefore this region will be acquired by you and you can keep pushing north. So after the vampire counts, I ignore the east, because I will let Queek get crazy over here, and you could get an alliance with him if you want to. I will proceed to head southwards to engage war against him, clean up all of this, take Nagash's heart, take out Imrik. I mean, I have a lot of stuff that I want to do around here to control all of this circular-ish part of the map. So after grabbing Morgheim, I push to eliminate Warzag, and I combine my army of Skarbrand with what remains of his blood host, I've recruited, I already have 2 generic lords as I mentioned before, and they will move together to eliminate Warzag and give 10% physical resistance for defeating Warzag to Skarbrand. And the Blood Host over here, if they still have any units, they will assist with grabbing regions, sacking, or occupying locations. Now, after all this is acquired, I proceed to Stone Mine Tower, Dock Paras, Barak Var, and then by the time you get Stone Mine Tower, you will see that Disciples of the Maw will declare war on you. So from there, I just went crazy and defeated everything that was in this area that Scrag held this early in the campaign. Now, once you get to Akendorf, things can get interesting. By this point in the campaign, when I took Akendorf, it was turn 14. When turn 15 started, let me tell you how crazy this was. At turn 15, I went on a sack region spree and raising region spree, where I basically I did a massive battle for Forest of the Gloom, I raised it, and then I went for Varanka Hills, raised it again, and because I had Skull Throne activated, I was getting massive Bloodhost armies, like this one here, that had a Bloodthirster. It had more units than what you see here. And Skarbrand, I had already acquired all the skill points that maximize his campaign movement, and he was just going crazy. I was raising Forest of the Gloom, Varenka Hills. After I raised Varenka Hills, I raised Barag Dawazga, or whatever the hell you say this, with Skarbrand as well. And I was just one Blood Host, another Blood Host, another Blood Host. And from Barak Dawazbag, I was able to reach all the way to Karaz Akarak, and then I sacked it. And then I was able to reach that turn 15 still. The Pillars of Grungni, another Blood Host. The Mount Squidhorn, another Blood Host. And from there, I couldn't reach the High Palace, but I was basically able to destroy the power structure of Thorgrim. And then the next turn, I took the High Place and the village Edgeway and left the Crooked Moon tribe in a situation where they're very happy with me, kind of like a little buffer to the north. If this homie over here, Drakenbeard, gets pissed and he takes Mount Gumbad, then I'll basically can rotate northwards. I have enough time to rotate my units or create an army to rotate this way. But in turn, all these battles was giving me insane money. And then the Blood Hosts that I was creating were able to then occupy Karaz Akarak after I had sacked it with Skarbrand. And then they were able to push down again across these regions that the generic faction of the Skaven that is here was able to reacquire. And then Skarbrand has gone insane with crazy power, just a freaking killing machine. Look at the stats here, 122 melee attack, 1.2k weapon strength. Just absolutely disgusting. How do I start with his points? How do I go for his skills as he's leveling up? Rune Marcher for more campaign movement range. Casualty replenishment rate plus 6% because you have low casualty replenishment rate when playing Little Skarbrand. Then 1 of Corn Corruption, and then Unholy Resilience so he can replenish ASAP after he's taking a lot of damage from battles. Once I've done this, I would go for Brutal Charge and start getting skill points to make him a higher DPS machine. I get Thick Skin the moment it appears. And then I go for Rage Incarnate the moment it appears. So then I can get 10% more campaign movement range after winning a battle, Vanguard deployment, way more weapons damage, 50% more for 36 seconds, which divided by 4 is give or take about 9 total attack intervals. And then Drinker of Blood to get 15% more post-battle loot, a 0.1% heal per second while in melee, which combines with the ancillary that he has for 0.3%, and then plus 4 Corn Corruption and minus 6 control with this skill, and then Locus of Endless War to get 15% more campaign movement range, and plus 3 more Blood Host units on creation for all characters faction-wide, which, if you get this by turn 15, which you can level up Skarbrand by that point by doing these massive battles against Warzag, the Vampire Count here, Scrag, the huge goblins over here. Once you get that that skill node and you have the Skull Throne activated, you get 5 more Blood Host units upon creating a Blood Host, and that's how you get the nasty little Bloodthirster and other nasty units in these little Skull Blood Host armies. Additionally, for Blood Hosts, you want to have them in combat trials, and this is so you can get passive skulls as they're basically moving throughout the campaign. And once you get to the second node here of research, you want to go for Failure of Battle, so you take minus 25% attrition from Bloodthirst attrition for these Blood Hosts. And then you also want to go for income from sacking settlements, from spoils of battle, etc. So I think I've given a pretty good overall summary of how to play the campaign. You also want to make sure you're always reinforcing so you can get the item of reinforce what do you call it, Cornet Mutant, to get plus 15 numeric relations with Cornet factions, which if there's nobody to confederate, you can just grab all of these items and then sell them whenever you need money, or you don't need this anymore, to get a bunch of money. And also, if you get a cult with the army that's all the way up here that has a Bloodthirster, the corn-based faction, you can potentially confederate it really fast and eliminate and basically get 3 more regions that early on in the campaign. But to summarize, by turn 15, I had already eliminated, or turn 16, I want to grab these regions, I had eliminated Thorgrim. Now Skarbrand is on a campaign moving range spree, while I will potentially grab Black Crag by turn 20. From there, Karak 8 Peaks, the regions of the dwarves all the way on this side. Imrik I will eliminate, Nagashasar, and then I will converge with Bloodhose, secondary armies, and Skarbrand to grab everything that Queek has, and then I will have consolidated all these areas of the map and potentially get close to halfway of a long campaign victory. Maybe potentially get a long campaign victory before turn 40 on the campaign, just as long as I get to 80 settlements and Nakari is eliminated. So I think that's all I'm gonna cover here. Oh, one more important thing. I like to put the Blood Reapers on Juggernauts so they become 1v1 dueling machines, and if I need them to tank and basically get encircled by enemy units, then I do put them on the Blood Throne, which makes them a little bit less sturdy in combat, but they can provide an AoE that gives more melee attack and leadership. And if you have a single Blood Reaper or Herald on a Blood Throne, you can use them to get surrounded by units. And then with Skarbrand, you pop his Bellows of Endless Fury to get a massive damage output on a blob of units that are surrounding another unit on the campaign map. Oh yeah, one more thing to mention. This Chaos Furies, whenever you face armies that have a lot of missiles, like dwarves with their Quarrelers, you literally take the Chaos Furies, divide and conquer on the archers, and what happens with missile units is the AI always has skirmish mode on, so you basically move those units at least away from the melee engagement so Skarbrand can go crazy and he's shot way less on the campaign map. And for his quest battle, there will be 1 Bloodthirster and then 2 Exalted Lords that are very big 1v1 DPS machines. What you want to do there is you take the Chaos Furies, you literally send them on the Bloodthirsters so they pop their melee statistical boost skills, which last about 30 seconds each, and they also pop their Dragon Breaths on the Chaos Furies. You pull them away before they get killed, but then that Bloodthirster and the 2 Lords will dive on your infantry, but they won't have extra weapon damage from the active abilities that they have, because it'll be on cooldown. The Dragon Breath won't be active, nor the charge bonus skill, so when they dive in, Skarbrand and the Blood Reaper on the Juggernaut can just munch through and eliminate those units, and then you pull your Chaos Furies behind the Khorne army, so then the Soul Grinder of Khorne and the Skull Cannon shoot the Furies instead of shooting with their explosive damage from the Skull Cannon, your infantry, where they will take way too much damage. And then you deploy your units where the Nurgle army comes into the quest battle to basically avoid the exalted what do they call it? Exalted Nurgle units, oh my god, Plague Bearers, from using their missile attacks, nor the Soul Grinder of Nurgle from using their explosive artillery damage. So you basically put like bloodletters right at the edge of the map where that Nurgle army comes in, which is to the left of your deployment. And then once those enemy units come in, it's a massive blob. You then send Skarbrand in, takes out the enemy exalted Nurgle Lord, and you eliminate the rest of those units and the Soul Grinder, and it becomes an easier battle than you expect. And you can even do it from like turn 15 if you want to. So anyways, very long video. I literally haven't stopped talking. I really want to thank you for watching. Oh, and if you're wondering if I have like freaking early access, you know, for like the next DLC of Warhammer or Total War, unfortunately, I've been rejected now twice. I guess I don't get enough views, or I don't know what the hell it is. So yeah, I probably won't be covering like early game access for like anything that comes out down the line in the near future. So it is what it is. I like making content for these games, and I'll just freaking be making it because it's what I like to do on my free time. I really want to thank you for watching, and I hope to see you on the next one. Bye bye.